All right, so we've finished with the bucking. We've got our story sticks made up. Of course, we've gone over our center line with our control, with our laser set up on our center control line, and we've gone all throughout the opening and checked. So we've got our margins that we're going to need to install the master frame now. We've got everything that we need for the install at this point, or at least we've gotten as close as we can. As always, we've got our drawing set up by the opening, so we can recheck what we need to recheck. This is just this isn't actually drawings for what we're doing here, but just representative of this is what we try and set up before we start on our installation. So from here, we figure we're going to set up to have our elevation. One of the first things we want to do, so to get our elevation, we know that going over this with the story stick, we need about 1/4 of an inch to get that. So we have our laser set up on our benchmark. We can take our story stick and set it into the opening and see that we're just about right there with our 1/4 inch shim space, so we're in good shape. So we can go across and check that and see. So we're in good shape so that when we're ready to tip the unit up and into the opening, we've pretty much established our elevation. We've got our unit to height. Then from there, we want to have our setback in the right place, and we want to be able to capture the unit in place with the stops. So what we do with laser stops is we set up our laser on the frame or the chase wall control line. So this is where we know that the framing is going to go to, our chase wall is going to go to. That's been determined already by, through the contractor. So what we do is we do the math to figure out where our laser stops are going to end up. So our frame is 5 and 13/16. So we know if we take that off of the leading edge, which is where the contractor wanted us to put our unit, and then we reverse that and re-pull our measurements from the inside, so we have to do the math to do that. So in this case, we're going to use the laser to represent what we're doing here. And we have our 5 and let's say 3/4 at this point, so that we're proud of the opening just enough to where we don't have to worry about our brick mold or anything interfering with the door. And that's something else that we would have discussed with the contractor in advance, that they wanted to have the unit just proud of the opening. So at that point, we know that we're hitting on our measurement that we put there, and that's 2.5 inches. So we've already done the math in advance to say that our 5 3/4 minus what's left back to our control line gives us our 2.5 inches. So we're going to run with this around the opening, and then we'll know, because we've got our laser set up around the opening, that our unit is going to be plumb off of this line. So we'll have made up all of our laser sticks at 2.5 inches. We'll run it on the 4 corners of the units, and that'll give us the ability to just tip the unit up into the opening, and we're good to go. Alrighty, so while we're getting the rest of the laser stops on the opening, then we can come over to the unit itself, and we'll have already unwrapped it and maybe taken some hard measurements off of it, make sure that, they're representative of the drawings. And then we'll check to see that our story stick is correct, of course, a good handful of times. And I just left my tape measure over there. 1 second. Could you toss me where your tape measure? Here it is. Yes, I do. Since this is an actual representation of the door itself, we know that we can pull this measurement off of here. And we'll have already had it on our story stick to say that from top of frame to benchmark is 34.5 inches. So what we can do, which simplifies everything, is to put all of our mark on the door itself, so that when we tip it up into the opening and we keep it on our control lines, we have all of those measurements ready for us. So this will just get us in the ballpark here. We just want to put a little bit of tape on there so that we don't have to mark right on the door itself. And then the other thing that works for is in the center down here, it's bronze, so when we put our mark on there, we'll be able to see a little bit better, a lot better. Morning. So then, this is for our center lines, which we'll get in a minute. So, as we read off our story stick, we've got 34.5 inches down, so we can mark that. Already, 34.5. And then we've got our center line, so that to center that up in the opening, we'll split the measurement of our frame width in half, and then we'll mark that on there so we can easily, move the unit right to center. And you should have that on there too. Half frame width is 35 5/8. So it should all be on your story stick, so you're not trying to figure out where it is or doing the math or anything. You've done it in advance in a quiet place. You don't have to do it on the fly then. So we go from there, 35 5/8 to center. Then the top. So now with that, if you can try and picture the idea that when we bring it over to the opening and we bring it to elevation, we'll simply be able to get right to our center line and elevation without a whole lot of trying to figure things out as you go. And that's that. Now we'll move it over. We'll move it over to the opening, set it up against the stops. I think we can kill it from there until. All right, so once again, this is just representative. Normally we would have all of this, fast flash all the way around and all of that, but for now we're just gonna get an idea of what we're doing here. So what we'll do is we're gonna have this tipped out, and then we've got our cups on. We're just gonna lift it up, set it on our shim so that we know that when we tip it up, we'll be to elevation, and then we'll capture it in place. But let's go around and do that. You guys can do that. Yeah, you can watch from in here. We'll grab it. So we're going to tip it back on you. We're going to lift it up, set it on the stop, and go. Yeah, ready. Over in. There we go. Beautiful. Yep, bring her in. Okay, so we're in. We're pretty much. Whoops, I'm in my own way. We're pretty much to elevation, so we're in pretty good shape. So now we're going to go around and capture it on the outside with stops. Let's go do that.
You got a hand on it, guys? I'm letting go.
Yeah, Yeah, that's a lot of the ideas, the laser stops.
Oh, these must
So we
be
can
for the
capture
windows.
Yeah, that's for the window.
Lady number 2.
I don't know what to tell you there.
That's number.
Have you guys done this before?
Not professionally.
I did sleep at a Holiday Inn Express.
right.
So does that mean you can fix my hernia?
Yeah. You got the sponsor. Look at it. Don't know where it came from.
I don't see 3. There must be one of these over here. You got 2 3s. I guess it's the closer one. If you go up me.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Tight.
number
Okay, well, let's take a look at the inside. And all right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. So we already know we've got our recess, because we've done that with our stops. We've got our elevation, which is good. And now from here you can see we're off on our center line a little bit here at the bottom. So we're going to move that over a tad bit. And of course it's right where the freaking laser doesn't hit on the top, but we'll figure that out in a minute. And so now from here, this is one of the most important parts of the whole starting installation part of this is to shim these at the far corners. And of course I've only got 3 black shims. Here we go. So with the when you're doing your 4 far corners, you're going to want to use the black shims. These are the stronger ones; they don't break as easy. So from here, if you want to tighten down the hand, and I'll take this far still. Thanks. There should be one in the. I don't think I have one in the van. So and when we say far, we mean all the way down at the bottom, all the way. So in theory, since we lasered all of these bucks in, it should be damn close to being 3/4 of it. I'm sorry, a 1/4 of an inch on both sides. This might be a little bit off, but in any case, it'll be close.
Newer.
That's the 7 inch. Okay, whoops, a little bit too far. Back a bit. Okay, so we're dead center there. We're on our line there. So you want to track me down a few more of the harder plastic ones?
That left side needs to come up. There's a couple of shims.
Alrighty. So we're there, far corner, and the reason for this is when you start on your far corners, you're not affecting your hinges at all. So you're not going to try. You won't have an S thing going on. You won't have any. You won't start to have curves in your frame. You're going to be dealing with just the outer corners of the frame. So let me get the rest of those. We'll get these shimmed out. Grabbing that little ladder. And then the other thing is, you're going to want to make sure that your laser stops are away from the corner so that you can actually shim the corner. So, I'm not seeing that. I guess I'm gonna have to move that in or out. So, and then, say when you see it. It's good stuff. Here, let me get it from the side here. You can maybe shorten that up a little bit when you get a chance. Yep. So there we go. And we're on. So from there, we see we got to come back this way.
I'm gonna move that shim right underneath the frame. This 1/4 inch that's right here.
You want to hand me that hammer?
Yep.
Thanks. So we need to tap that in a little bit. And there we are. We're on there. There we go. And I just hit it.
We're high now. I'm gonna change this to, 3.
Okay, so we're tightened up. You know, we're not crazy tight. We're not trying to pound it in, but just keeping it to where we know it's not going to be moving, but we also know we can get a little bit of an adjustment out of it if we have to. I want to recheck everything over and over. So that's good there. We're good on that. We're good on this.
Like that plumb. Too big to protect.
Yeah, that's, we're good on our plumb. And then we can check our top.
Let that ladder just a little close. I mean,
Laser, yeah. And we're good here. So from there, we know we're in good shape and we're locked in. So our 4 corners are locked. We're locked up against our stop. So at this point, now we can actually, you know, just start tweaking the door to get what we need out of it. And with that, we can use the lasers for, you know, running up our side jams to make sure that those are straight. We'll shim those and screw those off. And the same with the top. So we can, now that we're done with these, we can move this and we can shoot the laser the other way. Do you have that other laser?
Yep, right behind you.
Do this side? Yeah, as well, we've got them both. To the inside, and we would have had a clip inspection. In this case, we're going to through screw them. We also would have had these Forstner in advance. You know, when it was standing off somewhere, we would have had somebody come back with the Forstner, drill our holes, you know, whatever that happens to be, 3 inches off the end, 12 inches occurring, whatever it shows up to be in the NOA. So we would go with that. Then for our next step, we're checking our sight lines on the outside as we're going along, and then we're shimming off behind the hinge, because at this point, this is where you want to keep this frame straight. And to keep it from your door slabs from bowing in or twisting or whatever else that, you know, they have the ability to do. So the next shimming we do is along the hinge, top and bottom, and then then we fill in between each of the holes. Right behind those holes, we'll shim there, and keeping it right on the laser line, we'll screw those off. And at the whole time we're checking the operation, and we're checking our sight lines to make sure that as we go along, we don't start running into the unit being hinge bound, or different situations that you can run into. Then after that's done, for our final fastening, we'll take the screws out of the hinge plate to the frame side and fasten in through behind the hinge, and that is the last part of trying to keep the doors from caving in on themselves, and also maintaining the sight lines. Even afterwards, when all of that weight's sitting on the unit for a period of time, it won't have the ability to bend down. That'll be completely taken away by those fasteners going in. Then the other most important part of the shimming is the bottom hinge. That has to be, maybe not over shimmed, but tweaked in just enough to where it's going to stay in place. It's not going to be crushed in. Then you also run, fasteners through there, and then also through the rest of the hinges. And at that point, the unit shouldn't move anywhere. It should be pretty much trapped there. And as you can see, our lines on our shim space are all within tolerance. We shouldn't have any problem with the inspection. From there, I believe, then we move on to sealing on the outside back rod and finishing it off there. We should be in good shape. So to demonstrate what we're doing on the outside as far as the hinging goes, and the way the sight lines are on here, we've got our four corners locked. So more or less the door is doing what it wants to do, which is fall off lean off the hinges. So as you can see, the way this gap is tight down at the bottom, and then it opens up going up, that tells you that something needs to be secured. In this case, it's going to be this hinge. So if we shim right here, you can see that sight line opens up, and we'll throw the laser on this to see that this is straight, and that'll also take care of our margins in the center here too. That'll bring our hinging to the center. It'll fix our margins, and then we'll also we know that as long as we've got our line going straight up and down on here, and straight up and down on here with the laser, and these are all shimmed in place, that we should be in good shape. So you can see as soon as we bring this over to the laser line, our reveal right here straightens out and looks really good. So that gives you the idea of starting out with your shims all the way to the corner, and then starting to manipulate the hinges from there to get the frame perfectly straight, and then plumb level square, of course. And like I said, the last things we do is make sure that this is really well shimmed on the bottom. Of course, it's going to need shimmed on the top hinge too, but also the fasteners are possibly even through and through, so that is absolutely secure on the top. And then the rest we screw it all off, through the hinges, and then you've got a perfectly straight plumb level square unit. So we've got it all screwed off, everything's complete, the operation is good, all of our sight lines are good, we've checked it over a good handful of times. So now we're down to, if we have a caulk in, that'd be our next step. So on this contract, we have a caulk in. So normally what we would do is go on the outside, run tape down the outside. This, of course, is nowhere near the right size backer rod, but we would go with the proper size back rod, push that into place, make sure that it's a 1/4 inch back, then tape all the way around, and then from there, come back and make sure that we force the caulking in to the 1/4 inch all the way in, and then afterwards, with the tape still on, we tool that down and do that all the way around, and then pull our tape off, and we're good. And that'll all be completely sealed in. The other thing that we get on a regular basis is having the problem of not getting these things in. As you can see with this one being used, there's not caulking all over the place. There's not caulking all over the ends. And the way that happens is you make sure that this tube is cut and it's back inside the tip. When that's pushed down into place, this is closed off and you don't end up with caulking all over everything. And that'll make everybody a lot happier with you when you're getting that right. And I think that is it.